The anime begins with a boy named Lloyd who wanted to hunt a rabbit, but the rabbit humiliates him and escapes. Later, Shoma appears, who would be like an older brother to Lloyd, and he catches the rabbit. As time passes, Lloyd arrives in the Kingdom of Azami to take the exams to join the army. He enters a shop looking for lodging, but it turns out to be a wish shop. The owner, Marie, asks him about his intentions, and Lloyd tells her he plans to stay with her for a while. However, Marie tells him to go somewhere else. He mentions that he comes from Kunlun, and when she asks for the name of the village chief, Lloyd gives the name, Alka. He hands over a crystal, and a projection of Alka appears, who turns out to be Marie's master. Alka asks Marie to take care of Lloyd, and Marie reluctantly agrees. Later, the real master appears, revealing she's over 100 years old. Marie had referred to her as an old lowly, and the master had cursed her with minor misfortunes for a while before leaving. The next day, Marie wakes up, and Lloyd has prepared breakfast for her. Marie asks him why he wants to become a soldier. Lloyd explains that he admired a character from a book given to him by Shoma and wants to be like that character. Despite this, he knows he's the weakest in his village, as his grandfather could have reached the city in 2 days, while it took Lloyd 6 days. Marie realizes that Lloyd is stronger than he thinks. She accidentally spills hot coffee on her face, and Lloyd cleans it with his magical cloth. Marie notices her skin has become softer and asks what Lloyd used. He explains it's a homemade remedy that cleans anything when a spell is applied, a rune called disenchant. Marie reveals she spent 3 years trying to learn that rune. Later, Lloyd is in the city when he saves a girl named Selene from a giant insect. He easily defeats the insect, and Selene introduces herself. Lloyd does the same and then leaves. Later, Selene is in her room and remembers she's under a curse, which is why she wears a belt on her head. She tries to remove it in desperation and realizes it's easy to take off, thanks to Lloyd. The next day, the tests to become a soldier are about to start. Lloyd meets a mercenary with many charges against her, but she's been offered a deal to have her charges forgiven if she becomes a soldier. Lloyd talks to her briefly before Selene interrupts. Selene claims she belongs to Lloyd and asks Riho who she is and why she's talking to him. Lloyd explains Riho's name and that he just met her. Selene seems relieved. Riho comments that they both look odd but could bring her a lot of money. The tests begin, and everything indicates that Lloyd is about to pass, but he ends up failing. Selene and Riho can't believe it. It's revealed that Lloyd's kingdom, Azami, and the neighboring empire, Jiu, are on the brink of war and need to resolve their local issues before focusing on the potential war. They announce that anyone who finds the missing princess will receive a reward or any wish they desire. Later, Lloyd encounters an insect and sends it away. He finds a job listing and inquires about working there. The owner attacks him, but Lloyd easily dodges. The owner senses Lloyd's power and realizes he's not there about the job. Lloyd demonstrates his cooking skills, and the owner decides to hire him. Later, it's shown that Lloyd failed the written test because he responded with doodles, which were actually ancient and powerful runes. However, the girl in charge can't accept him because he failed, despite Selene and Riho vowing to find the princess and ask for Lloyd's entry into the army. Later, it's revealed that the owner hired Lloyd. Marie and Alka can't believe Lloyd failed the exam. Lloyd asks Alka if he can retake the exam next year and requests to stay with Marie longer, paying rent with the job he got. Marie doesn't have any problems, and Alka tells her that she can stay with Marie. Lloyd becomes happy and goes to prepare dinner. Marie asks her master if she could use her power to save the kingdom because someone has been controlling the king for 5 years, and it's only a matter of time before they declare war against Jiu. However, her master tells her that there are rules and she only helps when the threat surpasses human understanding. She warns Marie that if she involves Lloyd in the war, she will take him back to the village. Alka leaves, and Marie playfully calls her Old Lowly again. Alka returns and reveals that she placed a curse on Marie, causing her to get cramps in her legs every time she says, Old Lowly. Annoyed, Marie throws her master's crystal into a well. The next day, Riho is talking normally when she suddenly realizes that the shop is very clean. Riho asks who the owner is, and the boy tells her that he used to be a guard for the princess. They bring the food, which Riho finds delicious, and she asks who made it. The boy says they hired a new employee, and Lloyd appears. Later, Lloyd takes out the trash and encounters the same insect again, which he scares away. He then sees Marie entering an alley alone and hears about a monster in the direction Marie went. Lloyd follows her and finds a boy arguing with Selene. The boy wants to fight her, but her belt defends her. Selene explains that the belt is like the red string of fate that connects her to Lloyd. Lloyd arrives and asks if they've seen the monster. Selene throws herself onto Lloyd, and various people searching for Lloyd gather in the square. They indirectly pressure Alan, the boy who wanted to fight Selene, to fight Lloyd to showcase Lloyd's power. Alan agrees, thinking it's a test. However, when Lloyd is about to strike him, Marie intervenes, scolding Lloyd for using his strength dangerously close to killing Alan. Lloyd apologizes and offers to do anything to make up for his mistake. Marie gets excited by his offer but warns him not to say it lightly, as he could be deceived by someone like her, referring to herself. Lloyd insists that Marie is kind. The head of Lloyd's group arrives and asks him to return to the cafeteria. We learn that Marie is the lost princess, and they share information about the impending war and the manipulator behind the king. Marie asks her former guard, Chrome, for help in stopping the manipulator, and Chrome agrees. Later, Selene and Riho want to ask Marie for information to find the princess. Selene discovers that Lloyd lives with Marie. Marie arrives and asks Lloyd for a beer but notices two girls in her house. Lloyd introduces them as his friends, and Riho asks Marie if she can help find a missing girl. Marie doesn't want them to discover her true identity, but Riho suspects something and pushes Marie. Marie eventually confesses that she is the princess they are looking for, but Selene wonders if she is Lloyd's wife. Marie tells them that Lloyd is more like her nephew. Riho says she just said she's the princess, but Marie denies it and manages to evade the situation. Marie asks why they're looking for the princess, and Selene explains that finding the princess will allow them to get Lloyd into the army. Marie proposes exchanging information to mutually assist each other, but Riho insists that Marie reveals her true identity first. Marie implies they probably already know who she is, but Lloyd arrives and confidently claims he knows who she is, the kingdom's savior. Lloyd has mixed up things he's observed about Marie and offers to help her save the kingdom. Marie recalls her master's advice and tells Lloyd he's too weak and would be a burden. Lloyd becomes sad and leaves. After he's gone, Marie reveals her true identity to the girls as Princess Maria Azami. Riho criticizes Marie for treating Lloyd poorly when she knows how strong he is. Marie explains that Lloyd comes from the Kunlun village, where involvement in human conflicts is prohibited. If he defies this rule, he'll be taken back to his village and won't be able to fulfill his dream. Selene expresses her determination not to allow that. Marie explains that someone has ordered them to find the princess, dead or alive, and that if they find her, she might be killed to provide a pretext for war. She pleads for their help now that they know the truth. Riho and Selene agree to assist her. Later, Marie is lost in thought when a wet Alka appears and thanks her for keeping Lloyd out of the war. Alka asks why she threw the crystal pearl into a well. Alka punishes her with another curse that makes her end 1 out of every 10 sentences with NYA. She informs Marie that she'll look after Lloyd and leaves. At the festival, Alka notices that Lloyd is feeling down because he can't do anything to help the kingdom. Alka takes this as an opportunity to motivate Lloyd and gain his attention. Just as Alka is about to do something, insects appear. In another scene, Chrome asks the king to rejoin the military service, but Murthauphen is present and agrees with the king's decision. Chrome accuses Murthauphen of being the one manipulating the king. The girls appear, and Murthauphen admits to controlling the king but reveals that he's actually controlling himself and manipulated the king to release him, thus gaining control over the king's body. He confesses to destroying their village. The king approaches and transforms Murthauphen into a monster before leaving. Riho confronts Murthauphen, and Marie searches for the king to confront him and save her father. Marie attacks, but the king overpowers her, breaking her hand to prevent her from using the rune. Marie believes she'll die without apologizing to Lloyd. The king reveals he's Abaddon, a demon king inhabiting her father's body. Marie is angered that Alka could have intervened if she had known it was a demon king and not a simple threat. Marie runs off to find Lloyd. Lloyd encounters Alan, who was hiding due to his fear of insects. Lloyd delivers a motivational speech, encouraging Alan to find his courage and fight. Alka realizes that the insects belong to Abaddon and decides to assist as well. Later, Murthauphen is overpowering everyone. Riho goes in search of Lloyd but finds him at the castle. Lloyd thinks Murthauphen is drunk and accidentally headbutts him. At that moment, Marie appears and is glad that Lloyd is there. Lloyd sees the king and assumes he's also drunk. Marie takes advantage of Lloyd's innocence and tells him that the king is dirty and to clean him with his magical cloth. Lloyd does so, and the demon is defeated. The next day, Lloyd meets Shoma, but they can only talk briefly. When Alka appears, Lloyd notices that Shoma has already left. Later, we learn that Murthauphen was sent to do forced labor as punishment. He initially resisted, but upon learning that the wheat was to help those in need and had helped his village too, he becomes motivated to work. Later, Lloyd manages to join the army. Marie wonders who made it happen. Marie meets Alka, and they don't get along well. However, Alan appears, and we learn that he was the one who ensured Lloyd's acceptance into the army. Alan reveals that the kingdom rewarded him for killing many insects, offering to fulfill any request he had. Alan asked for Lloyd to be allowed into the army. The days pass, and Lloyd accompanies Marie on an errand. In reality, the errand is for Lloyd, as Marie wants him to help retrieve the sacred sword. Lloyd easily lifts the sword, which requires a tremendous amount of magical power. Later, Lloyd excels in the army. Riho becomes exhausted from training, and they are informed that they will skip magical theory and begin practical training. This is in preparation for a match against the Rukaju Academy. They are taken to the field and introduced to the 3 types of magic. The girl tells Lloyd she doesn't want him to participate because she fears he might accidentally kill someone. Selene requests the girl teach her healing magic, but Riho explains that it's difficult to master. Alan suggests they should just master it quickly, since it's complicated to learn. The teacher agrees to help them but insists they need a wounded person for practice. They agree to injure Alan for practice. Later, 2 girls named Philo and Mina visit Marie's house. They're sisters looking for Riho. Marie is surprised, and Lloyd appears. Philo attacks him, but he mistakes her intentions and thinks she's trying to swat a fly. Lloyd recognizes a photo of Riho and informs them that she's in the army. Philo wants Lloyd to be her teacher and live with her. She even starts undressing Lloyd, but Marie intervenes and kicks them out. We later learn that Philo managed to hurt Lloyd, breaking one of his ribs. Marie worries, but Lloyd assures her he'll recover in 3 hours and that it's nothing. Lloyd leaves, and Alka appears, learning that Marie went with him to find the sword. Marie explains it was just work, but Alka teases her about enjoying her time with Lloyd. Alka turns her into a butterfly. At night, Marie returns to her human form, naked, and Lloyd sees her but doesn't say anything. Marie changes and starts crying. The next day, the headmistress of another school visits to convince Riho to return. Riho feels down all day, and Lloyd notices. He seeks help from Marie on how to cheer someone up. Marie thinks he's referring to her because he saw her naked in the morning and suggests asking for a date. Lloyd takes her advice, but Marie realizes he meant Riho. Later, Riho accepts Lloyd's invitation, and she explains why she was upset. She grew up in an orphanage and met Roll, who taught her many things. However, her left arm limited her potential, as she couldn't use magic with it. Roll eventually brought her a magical prosthetic arm, claiming it was to help her perform magic. Riho later discovered it was designed to steal her magical power for Roll to obtain the sacred sword. Riho ran away from her and now struggles to trust anyone. She can't remove the arm because it would kill her. Lloyd assures her he won't betray her. Selene interrupts, calling Lloyd a traitor, and questions why Riho didn't tell her about her arm earlier. Later, both schools decide to hold a demonstration. There we meet Mikona, a second-year student who doesn't like Lloyd and wants to take the opportunity to prove she's better than him. Mikona faces Philo and loses with a single blow. Later, Mikona meets Marie, and it seems she has feelings for Marie. At that moment, Lloyd appears, and Mikona becomes sad because Marie pays more attention to him than to her. The match begins, and Riho tells Roll that she's a bad person and hates her. Chrome interrupts and announces that the prize for the winning school is the sacred sword. Roll decides to participate as a student, and the teacher says that if Roll does that, they'll use Lloyd. Later, Riho asks her teacher to teach her healing magic. Marie prepares to go to the match, but Alka tells her she can't go and curses her with stomach pain to prevent her from attending. The combat starts, and the first match is between Philo and Selene. As expected, Philo wins. The next match is between Mina and Lloyd. Mina tries to drown him, but 20 minutes pass, and Lloyd continues holding his breath. Lloyd obviously wins the match. The next battle is between Roll and Riho. Roll attempts to exhaust Riho's magical arm to defeat her more easily. Roll takes off Riho's prosthetic arm, thinking she has won, but Riho hits her with her right arm. Riho uses a healing stone to heal herself and her arm, winning the match. When Roll wakes up, one of her teammates tells her that Lloyd has the sword. Roll wants to kidnap the witch living with him and exchange her for the sword because her teammate told her that Lloyd cares a lot about her. However, she can only send Philo since she's the only one in good condition. Roll asks Philo to bring the person Lloyd cares about, but Philo wasn't paying attention to their conversation and misunderstands. She sees Alka's pearl, thinking it looks fragile and assumes Lloyd must care about it a lot. So, she takes the pearl and leaves a note. Lloyd arrives and finds the note, which says he needs to go to a certain location to exchange the sacred sword for what he loves most. Lloyd thinks Marie has been kidnapped and heads to the location. Roll realizes Philo misunderstood and shouldn't have sent her. Her teammate informs her that Lloyd is on his way to the location. Philo goes to find him and asks him to fight. Lloyd agrees, stating that if he wins, Philo has to tell him where Marie is. Philo agrees, but Lloyd wants to have an arm wrestling match, and Philo accepts. Later, a teammate of Roll attacks Alan, but Mina appears and saves Alan because the team is not happy with Roll using her sister as a tool to achieve her goals. Then we see Lloyd and Philo flying, and Lloyd uses a spell to win, successfully. Philo asks Lloyd to marry her, but Lloyd tells her to tell him where Marie is. Philo says that when she entered, Marie was in the bathroom. From a distance, Roll watches, realizing her plan didn't work. Alka appears and sees that she's in a different place, so she decides to detonate the area. The next day, Roll is in the hospital, and a man takes something from her. We learn that Roll was being controlled. The man mentions that he will deal with Alka when the time comes. The students have vacations, and we learn the girls' plans to spend time with Lloyd. Riho invites Lloyd to go out, and Selene can't be with Lloyd because her father forced her to spend her vacation with him. Lloyd appreciates the invitation but says he already has plans. Later, at Marie's house, Alka and Marie are fighting, but they're disappointed when they find out that Lloyd has plans. Chrome gets him a job at a hotel, and Lloyd wants to spend his vacation working there. Alka and Marie want to go with him, but Lloyd asks them not to because he doesn't want to depend on anyone. Lloyd arrives at the hotel and startles his boss. While the boss shows him around, he mentions a problem they've been having. In the past few days, they've found guests in a comatose state, and no one knows why. Lloyd offers to help if the boss wants, and he appreciates the offer. Then the boss introduces him to Kiku, who will be Lloyd's supervisor. Kiku instructs Lloyd to start cleaning, and Lloyd asks if he's the only one doing it. While Kiku explains things, Lloyd cleans the entire place in seconds. Later, the boss sees how fast Lloyd is and takes him to the reception, gives him a new uniform, and has him work there. His boss assigns him a difficult client, but Lloyd manages to get along well with him. Later, we learn that the man and Kiku are working together to investigate why people end up in comas at the hotel. The man has information suggesting that illegal Trent cultivation is happening there. He also reveals that someone stole a Trent from a lab, and the coma cases started after its disappearance. Kiku suspects Lloyd and tells him, but the man also had suspicions about him. He gives Lloyd a medicine that would extract the Trent from his body if consumed. Later, Kiku attempts to give Lloyd a tea to remove the Trent from his body, but her boss interrupts. Lloyd goes to work, and the boss drinks the tea, realizing it tastes awful. Kiku escapes, and the boss realizes that the incident started after hiring her. The next day, Riho is at the hotel and requests a massage service. Lloyd goes to her room, and they notice each other. Riho learns that Lloyd works at the hotel, which is why she rejected his date offer. She refuses Lloyd's offer for a massage, and they hear a scream. It's Selene, who just found out that her father is arranging a marriage with Alan. Selene doesn't want to marry Alan because she believes she's committed to Lloyd. Selene contemplates killing Alan, and when she thinks he's about to enter, she jumps to attack, but it turns out to be Lloyd. Selene jumps on him, and they find out that Alan fell into a coma, which is why he couldn't attend the meeting. The man asks Lloyd for help, and he tells Riho and Selene that he'll investigate the origin of the comas. Selene seizes the opportunity to ask Lloyd for a date under the pretense of helping with the investigation. Lloyd agrees to go out with her. While on their date, Shoma appears, talks for a bit, and leaves. It turns out Shoma only came to drop something off. Riho wonders how to carry everything, and Selene takes Lloyd away and leaves her alone. Selene opens up about her life before she met Lloyd, how she tried to remove the belt he wears, and how her father did a lot to help her. She tells Lloyd that it's important to be grateful for the help of others, as they've played a significant role in getting him where he is. Lloyd becomes happy and asks Selene not to tell anyone about their conversation because he would be embarrassed if others knew. Later, they discover that Kiku was spying on them. When Selene leaves, Kiku offers Lloyd a massage to use the medication she couldn't use before. Lloyd agrees, but nothing happens when he applies the medication. Selene interrupts when she was about to touch Lloyd's private area, and a fight ensues between Selene and Kiku. Lloyd distracts Selene, allowing Kiku to escape. Selene convinces Lloyd to go to the hot springs with her, but they encounter the other girls who also wanted to bathe with Lloyd. Philo and Mina show up, and Selene asks what they're doing there. Mina reveals she was hired by the kingdom to investigate the incidents happening there. Alka suggests there might be a toxic Trent growing in the hotel. Lloyd stands up and exclaims that it's dangerous, forgetting he's naked. Alka faints, and Philo throws her far away after spotting someone observing them. Alka crashes through several trees and almost knocks down Kiku, who was spying on them. Kiku encounters the infected secretary of Threorine, responsible for the chaos in the hotel. The secretary absorbs Kiku's magical power, but Lloyd arrives and interrupts. Lloyd mistakes the secretary for being in disguise, which angers the secretary, and he reveals his true power. Later, Lloyd's boss and Alan's father argue and blame each other for the ongoing incidents. The secretary attacks them, but the girls arrive to save them. While Selene fights the secretary, parts of the hotel collapse, and Selene's father saves her. Lloyd arrives and helps Selene rescue her father from the debris. Marie tells Lloyd that they can win by destroying the treant's core. Lloyd manages to approach and defeat the monster with a single blow. Later, we see Alka waking up underground, and Shoma tells her that he put her there so she wouldn't catch a cold. Being immortal, he hopes she never gets sick. Alka asks if he works for the man who controlled Roll, and Shoma confirms, adding that with the sacred sword now outside, he has gained a lot of power. After saying that, he leaves. The next day, Alka repairs all the damage to the hotel, and Alan's father and the hotel owner apologize for their earlier argument. Lloyd earns Selene's father's approval. Later, that man asks a girl what he looks like to her. The girl says he looks like a priest because of his attire. Shoma reveals that her love was stolen and she wants to find the person responsible for making them pay. Shoma gives the girl a medicine to increase her power, which she takes without hesitation, transforming into a sort of butterfly. Later, Lloyd tells Marie that he and his companions have a mission to hunt a giant serpent on the orders of the king. Marie thinks her father is foolish for assigning them to the task instead of more qualified individuals. We later learn that the old man from before is also after the same serpent. He tells Shoma they need to act quickly before others can catch the serpent. Later, Alka is searching for the old man and we find out his name is Sue. Alka encounters Marie and asks if there's a dungeon nearby. Marie confirms, and Alka takes her to show him where it is. Meanwhile, Lloyd and the girls are in the dungeon. Philo asks Riho if she's in love with Lloyd, but before Riho can answer, they hear a noise, assuming it's the serpent. However, it's Alka who has arrived. He leaves, and Marie is left alone to explore the dungeon. She encounters Mikona, who has been infected with the Trent. Mikona reveals she's waiting for someone to take revenge on the person who stole her love. Marie asks who that person is, and Mikona says it's Lloyd. Marie gets confused, starts thinking strange thoughts, and asks who the person Mikona loves is. Mikona captures her, and just before she can reveal the information, Lloyd appears. Lloyd tells Mikona to stop her actions as she's making Marie uncomfortable. Mikona threatens to do strange things to Marie if Lloyd doesn't fight her. Lloyd agrees to fight, and they start battling. Lloyd gains the upper hand, but the girls arrive, and Mikona attacks them. Lloyd protects them by sacrificing his body, and Mikona manages to injure him. Mikona mocks Lloyd for having friends, and he retorts that without his friends, he would have given up. Lloyd defeats Mikona easily. Later, the serpent they were looking for appears and tells Lloyd that he has been awakened. The serpent claims to control magical seals and Alka's powers. Marie wonders who gave the Trent to Mikona, and Sue appears. He asks Lloyd what he seems to be, and Lloyd responds that he seems like a villain. Sue asks Lloyd if he wants to become a hero, and Lloyd confirms, stating that's why he became a soldier. Alka then arrives and says he finally found him. Everyone gets distracted by Alka and the serpent, and Sue takes advantage of that to kill the serpent. Now Alka's powers have disappeared, or so Sue thought, because Alka strikes him and he can't understand how her powers are still with her. We learn that before dying, the serpent transformed into Selene's belt. Sue leaves, saying he's going to release Kunlun. Later, when everyone is at their homes, Lloyd realizes that the protagonist of his book is named Sue. Later, they are all together and Alka appears, saying she will take Selene to Kunlun with her. The next day, the whole group accompanies Alka because they want to see Kunlun. The purpose of the journey is to return the serpent's body, which now resides in Selene's belt. They enter a cave, and Alka summons a girl named Yuge, who helps them reach Kunlun faster. When they arrive, they see that Kunlun appears to be a normal village, but its inhabitants are extremely powerful. They observe that they do things very differently in terms of travel and communication. Later, Lloyd meets his grandfather and learns that his grandfather is the one who invented the fighting style that Philo learned and uses. However, it turns out it was actually a posture for exercise, not combat. Chrome and Colleen come to see how Murthofan is doing, and Alka tells them he's working in the back. They find him, and notice he's stronger and partially undressed. While they talk, Colleen realizes that the guy she fell in love with is even dumber than before. Chrome asks Murthofan when he's going back home, and he says he made a grave mistake and enjoys life in the village too much to return. Later, they have a party to celebrate Lloyd's return. They hear noises, and Alka says it's a monster. Riho wants to deal with it to earn money, but it turns out to be a dragon, and she flees. Later, during dinner, Alka proposes a toast for her future wedding with Lloyd, which annoys the girls. Lloyd's grandfather toasts for Lloyd's return as a soldier. After dinner, the elders bid farewell and ask Lloyd which of the girls is his girlfriend. Lloyd says they're just friends, and during the conversation, it's suggested that Riho and Philo are the best candidates. Later, Alka and Yuge are talking, and Alka reveals that Sue wants to release the demons imprisoned in Kunlun's dungeon. Then we see Selen and Philo arguing with Riho about being the favorite. Riho takes off the expensive dress they gave her, saying she doesn't want to sleep in it and plans to sell it for a lot of money. She ends up naked, but Lloyd arrives with breakfast, sees Riho naked, and Philo scolds him. Later, we see that Murthafen apologizes to Marie for his past actions. Marie asks him how he ended up being manipulated, and Murthafen explains that a merchant gave him an egg and asked him to deliver it to the king, which he did, and that's how everything started. Murthafen mentions that the only thing he remembers about the merchant is that he asked Murthafen what he thought he looked like. Alka continues with the plan to resurrect the serpent, and the next day, Yuge leads them to the last dungeon, where the demons are located. To enter the place, they need a key, which happens to be the sacred sword. However, given the current state of the serpent's body and Alka's powers, which are now beyond her control, if they try to force their way in, they'll unleash all the demons within. Later, Yuge manages to return the serpent to its true form, but they'll have to wait for the serpent to hatch from the egg in its new form, and they don't know how long that will take. Yuge shows them that until the serpent hatches, Alka won't have her powers. The exhibition duel is on the same day, so everyone has to return. Yuge won't accompany them, but before they leave, she asks Alka to speak privately. Alka agrees, but she doesn't expect Yuge to trap her in a well. Yuge reveals her declaration of war, now that she knows the location of the sacred sword and that Alka will be powerless for a while. Yuge plans to release the demons from the last dungeon. Alka points out that she sealed the serpent instead of helping it. Yuge admits it's true and reveals that she's also working with Sue. Yuge rejoins the group and sends them home without Lloyd. Lloyd was delayed because he was saying his goodbyes, so when Yuge appears, she tells him that Alka is in trouble and may be lost. Lloyd sets out to find her. Yuge said that to prevent Lloyd from interfering with her plans. After closing the portal, she lies to the others to keep them from worrying about Lloyd. Upon arriving in the kingdom, Riho sells the dress they gave her. Later, Riho visits Roll and finds out that she had been controlled. Riho asks who was responsible for controlling her, and Roll says she doesn't remember, but recalls that it was a man who asked her, "What do I look like to you?" Riho suspects it was Ju, and Roll adds that the man was accompanied by someone small who made a clicking or snapping sound, like sucking on candy. Riho begins to suspect Yuge. Later, Shoma and Ju visit the stadium to check on the preparations. Riho notices their presence and alerts the king, urging him to cancel the preparations. Chrome confirms to the king that they are trustworthy as they are friends of his daughter. The king takes Riho's warning seriously. Later, Lloyd finds Alka. He explains that he fell into the same pit as a child and decided to become stronger there. Alka hugs him, thanking him for finding her, and expresses her love for the world as it is, vowing not to let anyone destroy it. Lloyd and Alka return to the city. Alka realizes the journey will take a long time at their current pace, so Lloyd suggests a faster method. He gets launched from a cannon. The next day, the combat begins, and Alan's opponent is Mikona, who severely injures Alan. The king questions Sue about the situation, and Sue reveals that he was not honest and offered an alliance to dominate the world. The king rejects Ju's offer, so Ju resorts to Plan B. Yuge steps in, but the girls appear to stop her. Yuge manages to summon a large number of insects. Sue presents his final offer to the king: either accept his proposal or watch his people be killed. To Sue's surprise, the civilians are actually soldiers, so a battle between the soldiers and the insects ensues. Later, Murthafen arrives where the kings are located and challenges Shoma to a fight. He reveals that he learned Shoma grew tired of life in the countryside and switched sides, but Shoma clarifies that he's actually weary of the world and wants to change it so Lloyd can fulfill his dream of seeing a hero. After all that talk, Shoma easily defeats Murthafen. Then we see the girls fighting the insects, and Mikona seemed like she was going to attack Marie, but she was actually just petting her. Philo kicks Mikona and sends her flying. Later, Alan appears and cuts Sue's arm off, but his arm starts regenerating. Sue reveals who he really is. He's a human created from ancient rune magic. He was meant to be a beacon of hope when the world was at its worst, and he was supposed to disappear once the world was saved. However, that never happened, and he lost his sense of purpose. He lived for a long time, took on many names, and now he's an unstable presence, perceived differently by each person. All he wants now is to die, but to achieve that, he must kill Alka and turn someone into a hero. If he succeeds, he will die. He chose Lloyd to be the new hero. At that moment, Lloyd appears, though he's not entirely sure what's happening. All he knows is that he has to break the egg that Yuge has. Lloyd tries, but Yuge had a plan to prevent it. A stone golem controlled by Mikona appears. Mikona says she can increase her power to fight Lloyd. Just as Mikona is about to kill Lloyd, Murthofin appears to save him. Murthofin asks Lloyd if he'd let his dream of being a hero end so quickly. Thanks to Murthofin's words, Lloyd gets back up. Then Yuge sees that Mikona is about to lose, and Selene takes advantage of her distraction to steal the egg. Selene asks the serpent to come out, but it refuses. Selene tells the serpent she'll recount everything Lloyd has done so far. Not wanting to endure that, the serpent breaks the seal. Later, Lloyd manages to disintegrate the golem. Yuge asks Ju for help, but Ju is too busy recording a video of Lloyd and refuses to help because his plan is going as he intended. At that moment, Alka arrives and effortlessly deals with all the insects. However, when Alka is about to take revenge on Yuge, Ju saves her along with Shoma and they retreat, promising to return for more mischief. Afterwards, things return to normal, and Murthofin comes back to the city. The girls fight over Lloyd, and they all end up having dinner together. And that's how the first season of this anime ends. If you've reached this part of the video, let me tell you that you've been one of the few people to make it this far. So comment the word hero in the comments. Remember to subscribe to not miss any videos. With that said, see you in the next video.